Unsyndicated presents Off the Air with Sean Baligian.
What is up? So glad you could join us. It is Monday night here on Off the Air. He's Blake. I got a special guest here. My buddy. You hear us talk about him all the time. I make him blush every time I call him handsome, but look it. Come on, right? No comparison. Jeff Husak from A Wealth Advantage. What's up, buddy?
What's up? How you doing?
Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you
Fantastic that you could make it over.
Yeah.
We were just talking before we went on the air. The funny thing about this is, I'm not going to hide it. There's going to be no pretense. I have a feeling tonight's conversation is going to devolve into college football, period, end of story. I mean, we'll touch on the draft because I told these guys they didn't know each other. Blake and Jeff are two guys just like me. They love themselves some college football, and that's the coolest thing about it.
Yep.
I think we're going to be fast friends, Jeff.
And then if you start mixing in some gambling stuff, then we're in deep trouble.
Yeah. We probably both have some good Sean stories. I've got a great Sean story that would be hysterical to tell.
Which one? Go right ahead. I have a feeling I know which. Is it Lauren?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So right when I moved back from Chicago to start our company with my brother, I was working from home for the day, and I had to walk. We were neighbors, so I walk over to Sean's house to get I think I had to ask him a question about something. So for investment related, something with their stuff, and it was like 1:30 in the afternoon, right? I knock on the door. Sean walks to the door, and you would have thought it was 3:30 in the morning, right? I mean, he just completely disheveled, eyes closed, and he looks and he just starts kind of scratching. He says, "Hey, what's up, dude?" And I look at him, and I'm like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why? I just woke up from a nap. What's up?" And I'm like, I forget whatever question I had to ask him. So I asked him the question. He's like, yeah, I'll get back to you. Let me just talk to Kristen. I'm like, okay. So I, walk right back over to the house. And about 20 minutes later, he walks over to the house and knocks on the door. And I answer, and I'm like, hey, he just starts laughing. So when he answered the door at his house, he had red lines all over his face. He looked like he had some sort of skin disease sickness thing. What happened was he passed on the couch, and Lauren drew with markers all over his face, and he didn't know. So I literally thought he was I thought he had some, skin disease where I'm like, are you okay, dude? And he's like, yeah, I just woke up from a nap. And then he finally went in the bathroom, looked in the mirror. He's like, oh shit.
That's what Lauren, we used to call it beauty shop, right? So I must have just dozed off, and, as I was apt to do. And so she thought it was a perfect time to give me beauty shop and take a bunch of markers and draw all over my face. Look, I said the G word, and look who pops in. It's Mike. Gambling.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I was in a text exchange with those two the other day. Honest to God, they may as well have been speaking Swahili or something. They were talking about 7 legs, and they were using all this gambling jargon. And I'm like, you guys are doing this on purpose. There's
but you loved it.
Terms.
Yeah. You're complaining.
It was funny.
You loved it.
It was funny. I admit it. How did you guys do anyway?
I hit that parlay.
Yeah, can you tell everybody about that parlay?
So it was a 7-leg parlay on the Friday games.
Over 4s when you have a problem, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
It was plus 9,000, and it hit. I was just over the moon. I was so happy. I've been just bragging about it all day.
That's all. Congrats, man. That's awesome. God, hitting anything of a three leg or above is an incredible challenge. So,
And I said, that's it. My march is over. I'm not going to win another bet. And I got absolutely rinsed yesterday. Like,
Yeah.
could not hit a bet to save my life.
isn't that how it
brutal.
works though? You get your confidence up. And I remember when I was a senior in college or whatever, I gambled a decent amount back then, and I made for a college senior, I made $1,500 on a Saturday, Sunday
That's
NFL
huge.
college. And I walked that weekend, I just picked up tabs at the bar. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world, and I literally thought I'm gonna be rich all year. I'm not gonna have to get a job. This is so easy. And I think 2 weeks later, it was I couldn't wake up Monday morning, so I was sick to my stomach because of
Oh yeah.
crushed.
Yeah, I on Friday night I had March Madness figured out. I had it 100%
Oh,
figured out.
of course.
I got this on lock.
See, to your point, Jeff, about how it goes back and forth. Mike was complaining about how he took a bath on Saturday, but look he came back almost even yesterday.
Yeah.
And speaking of coming even, you can tell stories about me. Your brother can tell stories about you. So that we can go down that road.
We could.
You were living next to me when I had, and Blake, I just told you the story, the Tim Tebow story, when I hit my 16 parlay in Vegas.
Ole Miss.
And it was Ole Miss, yeah. Ole Miss,
Yeah.
and I'm getting yelled at. We have to go to the Blue Man Group, and I'm going, if you give me 1 minute, literally 1 minute, look at the clock. If you give me 1 minute, I'll give you a lot of money.
Right.
Well, why didn't you say so? Because the Blue Man Green Group or whatever the heck it is comes first.
Yeah. It's funny that we always remember. I think we probably always remember our biggest win, and we definitely always remember our biggest loss. One that you were just sick over. I can still remember the game. So it was good times.
By the way, I have to mention that Blake is coming to us courtesy of 760 WJR Mitch Album Show and Sports Rap.
That's true.
Ding,
Thank
ding,
you.
ding, ding. Can I do that?
You have to pot it up.
Screw that. All right, hold on. Now I want to.
Oh, there you go.
There it is. All right, Blake. It sounds like a game show.
It does.
Jeez, oh, Pete.
Sean has buttons now. This is very
that's
exciting.
All right, I'm going to stop that.
Everything
Do you like that? Simple
very
things for
close.
simple people, man. That's the way it goes. Yeah, no,
This
don't
is
shake your head at me. I set this thing up today, man. Come on.
I'm
give me
really
a
proud of
little
you.
credit.
I'm really proud of you. You didn't have to call me until 2 minutes before the show started. Make sure it was all good.
That's a miracle in and of. Hey, so I'm looking at this mock draft. We're 31 days away,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, and you guys know this. I'm talking to the right crowd, and there's a bunch of you out there that I'm sure know this. I don't think the average person still understands the massive humanity that is going to. I guess the best way to say it, invade our town. I still don't think hundreds and thousands of people are going to be here.
Yeah.
I'm seriously, I have no other way to say that. And I don't think even the local media, I'm not talking about the sports media, I'm talking about the local media understands how many people are going to be here. I mean, there are going to be hundreds of thousands of people that descend upon Detroit.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the biggest sporting events of the year. It really is.
Yeah. It's crazy. And it's even what's I think so weird to think about is how much it's grown in the past. I literally I've watched the draft since I was 14 or something. I just always loved it. So even when it wasn't super popular, I've always liked it. So to see what it's turned into is just insane.
Blake, again, sorry to sound like the old guy here, but I'm the old guy with you guys. I remember when it wasn't even televised, when you had to look at the sports page the next day.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. And that's why I always say this is another one of those things that I have to hit. Whether you like him or not, I don't care. There is one person that deserves so much credit for turning this into what it is turned into. And I'm telling you, it's Mel Kiper.
Oh, yeah.
And whether you like Mel Kiper or not, it doesn't, I don't care if you like him or not. What Mel Kiper turned this into is insane.
I thought you were going to say I thought you were gonna say the commissioner. I'm like, oh God, no.
I'm not going there.
What's the first like draft like you remember? Like, what's the one in your memory that like sticks out?
I got one.
So I remember the Trent Dilfer that draft. I don't remember the year it was. Was that 93?
Okay.
94.
94.
I think.
Yeah.
Look it up. Fact check me, Blake. Fact check. I think
I'm looking.
Dilfer was the 94 draft. See that little button that says on off?
Yeah.
Right there. Press that. Look at that. Huh? Yeah. You knew I'd forget something. Come on. Mike said we need to put Pearl Jam on one of those buttons. Can that be arranged? Can we do that, Blake?
No, because we'll get taken off of YouTube that we just got. So.
Yeah, we don't need that. Holy crap. I had to prove it was me. 94 draft, right? Dilfer was the 94 draft?
I was just looking at 93, so I'm assuming it's 94 because I didn't see it there.
What year was what was that year with McNair as well?
I believe that was also 94.
I
believe that was 94.
I think you're right.
Fact check me, but I believe that was 94.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm remembering both of those.
So the one that I remember very quickly while they fact check is the Mark Spindler draft. It was 1990.
Okay.
Where Spin Dog, like, you know how they showed up at people's house and made a big deal about it.
Yeah.
Well, they showed up at Spin Dog's house thinking, okay, he's going to be a first round pick. And then it went to the second, and then it went to the third. And it was like everybody in the nation, it was like Aaron Rodgers before Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
You know, and Spin Dog just had this look on his face that said, I might murder somebody today. Yeah. Shout out to Spin. And then, of course, the Lions took Spin. And I mean, his fate would have it. I end up doing a show with a guy. He's a great guy. Obviously, his son Rocco playing at Notre Dame now. But for whatever reason, I remember. So my buddies and I, we were all like 19, you know, because I'm old and everything. And all my buddies were like, come on, let's go out. And we're like, I'm not going anywhere. There's like a couple of us. We're like, I'm watching the NFL draft. And they're like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Right.
I mean, think about that. That's how long ago it was. There were people going, what, you want to stay in and watch the draft? And now it's, you know, a made for television, huge rating bonanza.
Yeah, full weekend. Right?
It's incredible.
It's just like, it's crazy.
What's
Mine was 2006.
Oh, okay.
The Mario Williams, Reggie Bush.
Reggie Bush. Yeah.
That was just when I had like just started getting into college football.
Yeah.
And like seeing those guys get drafted, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Vince Young was that year too, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Liner.
Yeah.
Can I also say, I think you and I have joked about this over the years. Do you remember Sean Salisbury, Blake?
I do.
Sean Salisbury was hot take before we even knew what hot take was, because his opinion on Reggie Bush is not only going to be the greatest running back of all time, he's going to change the way that the National Football League plays games. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
I remember just sitting there going, dude, how could you say something like that? And as we look, Reggie Bush was all right as a pro. There's no disrespect to him or anything, but come on, he wasn't even a star. If we're being honest, he had star moments, but he wasn't a star.
Yeah, he had pockets. He had very small pockets of showing you what he could do.
Yeah,
Lendale White was a better NFL running back than he was.
Who was?
Lendale White, his USC teammate.
Remember when do you remember those guys when they lit up the Lions on Thanksgiving?
Yeah,
that was awful.
Yeah,
that was absolute. Do you remember that Chris Johnson and Lendale White both went like over 100 on the Lions on a Thanksgiving Day game?
Yeah.
See, it's already starting. Like we didn't even plan it. We're already going into college football. All right, can I start with this? I saw this mock draft today, CBS.
Yeah.
Here's their top picks. Okay, 1, Caleb Williams. 2, Jaden Daniels. 3, Drake May. 4, JJ McCarthy. More on that in a second. Blake and I both have to call that out. Joe Alt goes 5 to Notre Dame. Of those 4 quarterbacks, does one stick out to you? Want me to repeat them?
No, I got him.
Okay.
No, I got him.
So Blake, I'm giving you extra time to.
Are we talking? And you're talking about one sticks out. So
if you think, okay, this guy's going to be the man, this guy's going to be the franchise quarterback.
Caleb Williams certainly has I think he's got the upside from, what he does in and out of the pocket, his, improvising, throwing from all arm angles, can make all the throws, things like that. There's some ball security issues with him.
Mhm.
And it's there's a little bit of, I don't know if it's a personality thing, but there's a little bit
He's
of,
an oddball. I'll say it. He's an oddball.
paints his fingernails kind of thing. So it's like,
Mhm.
I don't know if that's the guy I'd want as my franchise quarterback. I don't know. I think he's certainly a ton of upside. I'm not completely sold on Jaden Daniels yet.
Mhm.
The reason why is because his game is, what do you have, 1,100 yards rushing last
Mhm.
year?
Mhm.
He weighs about 205. He's not going to be able to do that in the NFL and stay healthy. And you look at the two quarterbacks that I would compare to Jaden Daniels from that aspect. Randall Cunningham early in his career when he was with Philly, obviously had some major injuries, then had to, turn into a pocket guy. And RG3 a little bit too, right? Two guys that like to run around, both ended up, getting injured because of that. So I think that with Jaden Daniels is his potential downfall. Drake May has a tremendous amount of upside. I'm not a Michigan fan. I think JJ has a shot to have a solid career. I really do, man. I'm not a Michigan fan. I think he should go somewhere where he could sit for a year. But I think JJ reminds me a little bit of like Matt Ryan coming out. Maybe not as much of a gunslinger, but how Matt Ryan played in the NFL. So if I had to take those three quarterbacks and say, who am I taking? I think I'd probably go Drake May, number one.
Mhm.
Long term, I would probably say JJ McCarthy, number two.
I would too. I really would.
And then I'd say Caleb, number three, Jaden, number four.
See, and Blake, this is why I like this guy, because we have the exact same feelings on, your hat. We have the exact same feelings on your hat. But this was one of the things that we talked about, like our very first show. The mock drafts are so silly in late January. I read them, but I tell everybody, read them, but don't take any of that information seriously. Because if you remember, Blake, they had JJ McCarthy late first round, early second round. And I was like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
He's a first round talent. I mean, period. End of story. And I think he has the chance to be a very, very productive National Football League quarterback. How would you rank him, Blake?
I understand all the issues with Caleb. The talent, though, like when he's on and he's balling, it's just different. Like the way he can throw the ball, his athleticism, everything. My number two would be Drake, because I think the things that Drake May did at North Carolina as a college football fan, that dude had no receivers. Like his best receiver was Tez Walker.
Yeah.
And Tez Walker is not that dude.
He had who do you have last season? Not this past season. The season before, was it Downs?
Yeah.
And he was a good receiver. He's on
definitely
Indy, I think. Yeah, and he had a good rookie year. But yeah, sorry.
And then I would put JJ and then Jaden.
Yeah.
I think Jaden, like, if you watch LSU games, like LSU's offense was incredible. Obviously, they have two NFL receivers that they schemed wide open.
Yes.
WTFO. Wide the open. Constantly, nonstop.
Neighbors and Thomas will both go in the first round, right? 100%. And so compare that to the other quarterbacks, and those two could probably go in the top 15, right? Those two.
I'm going to look and see where they're going right now. As a matter of fact, go on.
So if you look at all of the receivers that the other quarterbacks have, USC does not have a receiver that will get drafted. I don't even know if one will get drafted at all. North Carolina. No one's going in the first 2 or 3 rounds, receiver wise. And Michigan, Wilson will probably go in the second. I would think. I don't. See
second
him.
Or third. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see him. He's not a first round guy. So I agree with you that Jaden was loaded with talent, and I just think when comparing his style of play, I'm I've coached quarterbacks for like 15 years, played quarterback, so I love studying the position. And I was a running quarterback, right? I was not a pocket guy, so I love dual threat guys. But the problem is in the NFL to be a dual threat guy, you either got to be huge, like a Josh Allen, you know, or they have to scheme the entire offense around you like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
To just be a guy that you're going to just, the pocket's going to break down and I'm going to go run. You take too many hits. And for Jaden Dan, like he just doesn't, he's so frail that he's just doesn't have the body type, I think. So he's going to have to morph his game to be a pocket guy. Like Donovan McNabb did that when he came out. He was very dual threat in college, came out, had a really good rookie year, had a lot of rushing yards, and then realized I can't have a long career unless I change my style of play. So he became more of a pocket guy, put more weight on. So I think if Jaden can do that, that will help him. I don't, I haven't seen that from him. So
I also think JJ's athleticism is the most underrated part of his game. Like when McNamara was there, they were bringing JJ in to run like quarterback power and stuff like that.
They're
like
Q read stuff for them. Yeah,
he's an athletic dude, and I think he's not getting enough credit for that still.
Yeah, he moves. So he's not a guy that's going to rush for like 500 yards a season in the NFL, right? But he does a really good job manipulating the pocket to find find space, find holes and windows and things like that. From that aspect, he
was so dangerous rolling out. I mean, how many times did you think, okay, they got him, and he rolls out and he throws a dime down the sideline?
Yeah,
it was amazing.
So, and again, go watch if you go watch Matt Ryan, his college tape, it's like you'll watch. It's a lot of the same stuff. Matt Ryan was a little bit more of a gunslinger, but a lot of the same stuff. Not elite arm. Like JJ does not have elite arm strength, right? But I think arm strength is probably the most like people place too much emphasis on just pure arm strength anyway. It's can you make all the throws? Arm strength is icing on the cake. Because I mean, how many times do you see these guys come out like a Jamarcus Russell, right, or something like that? Fat. But if you look at like when I read quarterback, the consensus or the reports on him, if the first thing is elite, amazing arm strength, like I immediately like, okay, he's probably overrated.
Right.
There are the guys that they're the exceptions to the rule, the Pat Mahomes, the Dan Marino, the Brett Favre, but there's Jeff George's, the Dan Schrader.
Cannon, remember?
Strongest arm in the NFL.
Jeff George, by the way, Neighbors, they have him at 8 in this CBS mock draft. I just pulled one up for the sake of argument.
Yeah.
And then Thomas, they have him at 11.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
If you're wondering, and Blake, you're going to be really ticked off.
Oh, I saw. I'm looking at the same one.
Did you? Okay, I'm going to tell you point blank. I'm going to let you guys. I don't know the first thing about TJ Tampa other than what I read. I hate when we were talking about this the other day, like the tournament. These guys that lie that they know something about Duquesne. Shut up! You know nothing about Duquesne other than what you read online 5 minutes ago. Except you did know about Grand Canyon too. Like it was me. I was like, oh, their coach is a legend. He hit that shot at Valpo. So the Lions, for what it's worth, they have TJ Tampa going at 29. Blake, did you see who's going at number 30?
Yeah, Mikey Sainer still.
Who would you take, Blake?
For the Lions?
Yes,
TJ Tampa.
Okay.
Because Brian Branch and Mikey Sainer still will be very similar players.
Fair statement. Doug asked, could Drake go number 1? Yes, I think so. Yes, I do. I
think the Bears are locked in at Caleb.
I do too.
Do you really?
I do too.
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
But they're the Bears?
Yeah, exactly. They're locked in. They're not doing their due diligence. It's
They're the Bears? Been a few times the Bears have kind of gone off the board.
Magic Man, the last name.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
Who can forget? Mike said that's because Blake is just smarter. Of course.
We
have to tell the Michigan story with your poor brother. Brother.
I agree with you. Like, could he go number 1 and they surprise everybody? Yes. I think with everything they've done though, with bringing Williams in and getting rid of Justin Fields, I think everything is set up to bring a quarterback that they love, who it seems like the consensus is Caleb. It just seems that like it's all roads go through him for them right now.
But if they go with this draft mock and they draft Rome Odunze, they're gonna have the best receiver in the draft. So there's that.
I never knew that, Doug. Here I've known Doug for a while. He said Don Mikowski is actually a third cousin. I never knew that.
Magic man.
I had no idea. Isn't that amazing? Listen, we'll talk more about nerdiness, and in particular, I'm going to be intrigued to hear some of what Jeff thinks about the Lions' needs are. But Blake, can we talk about our friends at Legacy? We need to tell you about our friends at Legacy. And did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy Partners are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents, and they provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. Listen, I've been saying this. Call them. Put him to the test. Say, hey, that idiot, Baligian, I was watching his show. He said that you're going to give me a quote. You can find out for yourself. Legacy has helped many of our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you and save you some money at the same time. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're paying too much and you could be underinsured. What are you waiting for? Get that quote right now. Give Legacy Partners a chance to help you with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, your business insurance needs. Call them today, 586-209-4106. Get your quote, 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. All right. He is Jeff Husak. I'm going to let him tell us about Wealth Advantage in a few minutes. Who could do a better job of telling you about Wealth Advantage? Well, I am a client, but I'm going to let him tell you about it. So I need to give you some backstory. Little Blake was hurt many, many times by the Lions in his life.
Of course.
Many, 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 many times in his life, as we all were.
Yeah.
But little Blake, Little Blake didn't get a chance to heal from it. And in fairness, Blake, around the first week of December, if you recall, right before I got fired, I was terrified about their defense as well. I was absolutely terrified. And I said, that is not the type of defense that can win a playoff game, let alone win a couple of playoff games. Boy, were we wrong about that. For the first time in a lot of people's lives, the Lions are absolutely, positively legitimate. And I've heard a lot of people try to compare it to the era in the early 90s from 91 to 92.
Yeah.
And I always remind people, don't forget they lost 2 starting offensive linemen from one season to the other. One was paralyzed and the other one died in a tragic accident on his front lawn. When you look at this Lion team, okay, and it's not as easy as people want to make it with, it's progression and, the next step begets the next step. It's not always that easy. Ask Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills.
Right.
How close are they?
I think they're close. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if, we got to the Super Bowl next year kind of thing. I think
my heart.
The reason why is, and again, I said this to you when we talked like 6-7 months ago. We were talking about how, it's great that they're, finally turned the corner. The culture has changed, right? The culture is different, and I don't want to place them in the, comparison category to like what Belichick changed the culture in New England 25 years ago, right? And so they had a run. I don't think the Lions are going to have that kind of run, but I think the fact that the culture is different and they've gotten everybody to buy in, they're going to be super competitive. So I think as long as they can stay healthy, and they've shown that they've done a great job drafting. Right, so I'm just going to assume that we'll have another solid draft this year of guys that they know will buy into the culture, and we'll kind of plug and play from that aspect.
Blake, where are you at? Are you feeling any better about the direction? Especially, I think what Jeff just hit on. Even the most butthurt Lion fan out there has to acknowledge with every fiber of their being that you have a general manager right now who has nailed the draft. Is this onward and upward for this team, or dare I say, I hate to say it, I think a lot of people, yours truly included, who I love, Josh Allen, as you guys know, I thought, well, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah,
I don't know if that window's still open for the Bills, and I'm not even being funny when I say that anymore.
I don't, and I think Buffalo got there on talent, purely based off of. I mean, they've just had some dudes. Detroit has we have more talent, but like compare Jared Goff to Josh Allen, right? I mean, who you taking?
Yep,
that's not a conversation, right? So I just think Detroit is more of a full team, all in. We're going to war together, and I think when you have that built based off of when you just have pieces of great players, you can. I think it's more just keep rolling in the next year as long as you can stay healthy, right? Fill some spots through draft and free agency. Yeah.
Where are you at, Blake?
Can I just say two things? There's two things I worry about.
Oh, here we go.
I think first of all, it's like the window thing that you were talking about.
All right.
And you can keep drafting well and do all those things and build your team through the draft. And I 100% believe that that's the right way to do it. But at some point, you become the Green Bay Packers, and that's all you do. And you're not obviously the Lions did add some through free agency. But if you're sure that you're in this window and you want to win a Super Bowl, you have to add star players through free agency.
So who would you have wanted them to add this year?
I really liked oh my God. I would have loved Hunter. Danielle Hunter. I would have loved that. I really liked the Reader signing. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And obviously this year there wasn't a lot of secondary talent in the free agency market.
Yeah.
And they still went out and got one, but I think that their secondary is just trash.
My feeling, collect them in the draft. There's nothing wrong. I mean, this idea that you have to take a cornerback early is insane to me. It's like, do a little bit of homework and you can find that guys are being plucked later that turn into studs. I mean, that's just the way it is.
And the only other thing is, what if Jared Goff becomes a pumpkin again?
You have to consider that. I know people don't want to hear it because he's become everybody's hero and everything.
He's become a cult hero around here, 100%.
Listen, when he went through that period in what was it, about mid-November until early December, I was like, here it comes. Yeah. Here it is. And boy, it's so important. I mean, look, Captain Obvious here. It's important to protect every quarterback, but in particular, Jared Goff, I use the term all the time. If you're not protecting him, that man sees ghosts.
Yeah, I agree.
He does.
Yeah, I agree. And yes, so. If Ben Johnson would have left, I would 100% be agreeing with everything you're saying, Blake, and say that I wouldn't have much confidence in Goff. Like I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I think the reason Goff has been so successful, I'm not saying I don't think he's trash by any stretch, but I think Johnson's does such a good job keeping us very creative on offense that I think it's really done a great job of helping Goff out. I mean, we seem offensively, we've the past 2 years, I feel like we've always been a step ahead of the defense. Not every week. I mean, you can look at Baltimore last year where we got just smoked, but in general, I mean, like go back, watch the first half of the San Francisco game, right? And then the conference championship, or just throughout the season. I mean, it seems like they're doing a really good job of, utilizing the talent we have, not putting too much on Jared. Just play within the system. Don't make huge mistakes. And he's done a good job of that. I think that's what he can do. He can't do what a Patrick Mahomes, a Josh Allen, I mean, he's just not, he's not that guy.
You're reminding me of Lombardi, because Lombardi was a guy that tried to make his system fit what Matthew Stafford did, and it was never going to work. I always use the term, it was like trying to pound the square peg into a round hole. Yeah. It's just not going to fit. Right. And I think the best guys are what say, okay, I'm going to work to your strengths. Instead of you trying to fit to what I want you to do, I'm going to work to your strengths. Yeah. And it's how many guys can check their ego? It sounds so simple, but let's face it. If you're at that level, there's an ego that comes into play. Well, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's the reality of the situation.
It is. It actually, it kind of comes full circle. We're talking about the whole quarterbacks coming out in the draft class this year too, right? Mm-hmm. So backtracking, you look at Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jane Daniels and JJ McCarthy. And like McCarthy, like especially like comparing Caleb to JJ, do you think Caleb would have been okay running the same offense that JJ ran?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Not throwing, not, and Blake's saying no. And I agree with you. JJ is, and again, not a Michigan fan, root against him every week, but I like JJ. And I think that his leadership and his team first mentality is something that you have to love about the guy if you're an NFL, GM. And so looking at it the same way, like building the team the right way and all that, yeah, you got to make sure that you're fitting your players. And I think Detroit's done an amazing job of that.
Hey, can we talk about the Motor City Rockers real quick? And Ben, thank you for the kind words. He said, love the show, guys. Keep up the good work, and this channel will grow. Really appreciate it. He said, Lions are lucky they are not in the same conference as Mahomes. Jason said, who's this Jeff guy that knows what he's talking about? Yeah, it's about time you find somebody on this rotten channel that knows what they're talking about. He's Jeff from Wealth Advantage, my neighbor, and he and I had conversations like this every college football weekend for years when we were next door neighbors. So it's great that he can come on with us. Motor City Rockers, the playoff bound Motor City Rockers, I might add, in action this weekend back at Big Boy Arena. They were on the road all last weekend. They're home, and there's no place like home, and no place you'd rather be than Friday night when they take on the Columbus River Dragon. Puck drop at 7:35, and then they take on the Binghamton Black Bears Saturday 6:05 at Big Boy Arena. For tickets, go to www.mcrockershockey.com. Look at Scott Husak even joining. Look at that. Gordy is a great coach. Gordy's doing a heck of a job with the Rockers. By the way, since I think both your brothers are there, did your dad tell you I saw him at the high school finals?
No.
Your dad was there. I was talking to your dad. It's always nice to chat with your dad. We were talking about water balloon fights and everything. So we used to.
Sorry about that, Sean.
We used to have water balloon fights on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Like they would attack, then we would attack. And so we had a bunch of friends and family over, and all of a sudden, shoot, 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 you hear that noise and you're like, okay, I yell move, but it's too late. And then people would get splattered. So it was a good time.
Yeah.
It was a good time had by all. So Blake, for you, it's about this secondary right now, and you still want an edge guy. You want that DT. What are you looking at? I hate you have to get one in the first round. No, you don't. Stop it. That's such archaic thinking. I think Brad Holmes has proven that, but your wish list would include what?
Depth on the defense. Just everywhere. Depth everywhere on the defense. I think the offense clearly still has great depth. I mean, offensive line, you could always be deeper because you never know when an injury is going to pop up. But I think depth on defense, depth on offensive line, and just keep it rolling. But you have to have guys that fit what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be mad about another receiver at all, especially
neither would I. So neither would I.
Yeah.
Nope. Not at all. I mean, I like what they have, but you know what? Especially if this is the year that the training wheels fully come off of Jameson Williams, because I think, I could be wrong, I think that the questions are done about him. I hope they are. I really do. I think he's a weapon. I don't think he's ever going to be a full-fledged stud or anything like that. I think he's a weapon. Yep. He fits what they're doing, and use him as the way they're using him. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and be your number one and he's going to have 100 receptions or anything like that. He's a weapon, and I have no problem with them drafting a weapon like that.
Deshaun Jackson was a weapon, right? When he was in the league, and he wasn't a great receiver. He wasn't a master at route running and going to lead the league in receiving, but he was a weapon. And I think Jameson's kind of the same way from that aspect. I agree. I think we definitely need some depth in the secondary. We need some, help on the edge, and then a receiver. If we go with a receiver, and my brother and I have actually talked about this quite a bit, I think what we need to focus on is somebody with some height that can actually help us out in the red zone. So somebody like a Keon Coleman, 6'4". Florida State's other receivers at Johnny Wilson, I think.
Wilson,
6'7".
He's huge.
He would be more of a, late round, like probably 5th rounder, 4th rounder.
It's funny you say that, because I know a nerd that probably did 7 different mock drafts today, and he showed up in quite a few. It was amazing when he was sitting there. I thought, so we don't. Things.
I mean, all the receivers that we go, they're all 6'1", so
Yeah.
we need so if we're going to get a receiver, get somebody who can actually, that Mike Evans type. Obviously I don't think we can get that good of a player, but that body type, right? I think that's the kind of what we should target from a receiver. Edge guy, I think if Chop Robinson's available, when we're there in the first round, that'd be great. Secondary wise, I like the guy from Iowa, Cooper DeJean. He's really good. I think he would fit. Culture. I think we clearly like Iowa players, right? We drafted 2 of them last year, so it wouldn't surprise me if we took him or Kool-Aid from Alabama at corner.
McKinstry. Yep,
he would be a solid pick. So one of those 3 would be, I think, where we're going in the first round: Chop, Kool-Aid, or Cooper. That's what I think. It'll be one of those 3, I think.
You asked earlier too, like what guys out in free agency, and I just thought like Mike Williams would have been a sick addition to this team.
I thought I texted my brother when I saw that they released him. I texted my brother. I said Mike Williams is available, and he made a really good point. He's like, he's injured all the time.
He'll be injured,
and you got to pay him like $14 million a year. But I agree with you to get him for a year or 2. And maybe he can stay healthy. He would have fit perfect for what we need. Totally agree. I mean, I think, he's the.
But that's the type of guy that you're talking about.
No question.
100%.
Yep, no doubt. Yeah. Let's talk about our friend Lindsay Broadwell and Broadwell Homes, if we can, for just a minute. When it is time to get yourself a house, whether you're buying, selling, or both, you need to contact the right agent. I got one for you, Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up here on the mean streets of Northville. They are mean, and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business, and when it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and that everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyers, seller, first-time buyers, doesn't matter. Make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She will help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. All right, Jeff Husak from Wealth Advantage. I'll let him tell you. So, Blake, can I tell you the little story? I don't know if I ever told you this about the Appalachian State game. And the Michigan Appalachian. I'm sorry.
But why? Why?
Story. If you don't want to hear the story, you can turn your mic off and everything. Look at that. He's going to take his mic. So opening day 2007, I think everybody, I actually had, look at Mike's going, oh, stop, your brother's already. So I had an appearance that morning, for the college football show that I was doing with Jack Ebling. And I had some tickets to the game, and I was like, I'm not going to this game. It's a crucifixion. Whatever. I'm not going to, they're going to pound, they're going to pound Appalachian State. You know how that worked out. So it's late in the game. And at the time we didn't have, I think we had the Dish at the time, and it didn't have the Big Ten Network, but you had Big Ten Network on. Was it the Dish? Whatever. Okay.
DirecTV.
No. All right.
Yeah. DirecTV had it, and Comcast and Dish did.
Yeah. So we did. So I went over their house. And Mike and Mike is the Michigan fan, and he's just sitting there head down, all despondent and everything. And Jeff and I are dancing all over the place and everything. If you remember, Michigan had the big play to put themselves in field goal position. So it went from, in the blink of an eye, Jeff and I to doing dances. And then Mike goes like that. And so it total role reversal. I mean, 360 where Jeff and I are going like this. And then the field goal got blocked, and Jeff and I ran out the front door dancing, singing songs, and
run around the streets.
I thought a party might break out at Mike's house. Not that there were ever parties at Mike's house.
No.
Or anything.
No.
But I thought a party might. That's, you know what? We're going to have to save those stories for unsyndicated after dark. Okay, Blake, I'll tell you about some of the parties that Mike and Jeff had at their house. So, no, that'll be for the after dark thing. But that was one of those moments that I think everybody remembers where they're at, Michigan fan or Michigan foe alike. I mean, everybody had a vested interest in that because Blake, I'm sure even you as a young lad, what were you probably 10 at the time or something, right?
No, I was in high school. I had to listen to, I remember listening to it on the radio, vividly. because I didn't have the channel. So I remember vividly listening to it on the radio and just I was despondent.
It was beyond belief because I think the younger generation maybe doesn't get this. That didn't happen to Michigan.
No.
That happened to other programs.
Yeah.
Like seriously, I say that with respect.
Yeah.
I'm being serious. They were the model of consistency for about a 30-year span.
Yeah.
Like they I know that they didn't win anything in that span, but really from 69 to I mean, heck, you could say almost 40 years, they were the model of consistency. So I think that's what made my jaw drop about that. Is like, wait a second, that happened to Michigan. That happens to everybody else. That doesn't happen to Michigan.
Well, they had a lot of talent that year too.
Yeah, they did.
So people were expecting.
And then the next week when they got waxed by Oregon and Dennis Dixon.
Unbelievable.
That's right.
Waxed. And that was before Oregon was Oregon.
Yeah. Dennis Dixon.
Dennis Dixon was awesome.
I always say this, and I'm not trying to like kick sand at you, Blake, but I think sometimes my generation, your generation, and even your generation, Blake, you guys forget that this generation, like my son didn't live in a world where Michigan dominated Michigan State.
Yeah. So when I coached at Novi back in the day, I had that conversation with a bunch of the players. And we were talking about that. And I'm like, I just said, I'm like, do you guys like, they're like, oh God, Michigan's, they're just such trash. Like it was like rivalry week. They're like, oh,
isn't that
trash.
Unbelievable?
And I'm like, what do you guys think of Michigan football? And they're like, oh, they're trash. They're terrible. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and I thought about it. I'm like, since they've been watching college football, Michigan hasn't been really all that relevant during that time period. And it's true. Michigan State, it kind of owned them for a while. And when I look back at my childhood, it's like Michigan State would win 1 out of every 5 years. I feel like every 4. I mean, I don't know what it was, but it's like Michigan dominated that series.
I still remember them because it happened so infrequently. I mean, from the time I was a teenager, it was 84, it was 87, it was 90. I mean, that was 93. So for a while it was every 3 years, and then it jumped to 95. Then you had to wait, obviously, for a few years for the next one. And it was funny because it was the exact different thing. And Blake, honestly, I chaperoned my kid on a trip, I think 8th grade, 9th grade, whatever the hell it was. All the kids were wearing, I'm not joking, they're all wearing Michigan State gear.
Yeah, same.
It was insane. Yeah. I was like, this is crazy. That never happened. And obviously, we know what's happened since then. You have to give your flowers, man. They're the measuring stick.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do next year.
I knew I'd put a smile on his face. I knew I'd put a. But Blake, it was going to happen last year, or you ran the possibility of, okay, it might not ever happen. I remember you and I having that conversation in the fall. Like, you saw a year in advance. Okay, this might be the year where the sun aligns. I didn't think it was going to happen. I'm telling you point blank. Quite frankly, I thought Georgia was going to find a way again, but everything aligned, and give them their flowers, man.
No, I mean, even before the playoff, I vividly remember you whispering in my ear, Alabama's going to wax them. So, and I mean, we know what happened.
I thought Bama was gonna handle them.
I did too.
I really did.
I don't think we realized, and I don't think even like now, people realize how good Michigan's defense was.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
They were tougher than I gave them credit for. I am somebody, and I think I can speak for him here, and I know people hate to hear it, but it's factual. I have watched SEC teams just wear down Big Ten teams for years, and the fact that you deny it is mind-boggling to me. And it started to go that way a little bit, and then it stopped.
Yeah.
And it was like, this Michigan team is tough.
Yeah.
This is a tough team,
Yeah, they dominated the line of scrimmage for sure.
Michigan's defensive line was an SEC defensive line.
Yep, they were,
if not deeper.
Yeah, it was even. I felt like from that aspect, the D line versus the O line, it was even worse in the national championship game. Watching Washington's tackles. There were like 4 times I thought they should have called false start
Yep.
on Washington on the offensive tackles because the edge rushers for Michigan were getting around. So they were literally like a split second before the snap, they're backing up. I'm like, how they not call false? And they still couldn't block. I'm like watching. There was one of the offensive linemen. I'm like, if I'm Penix, I'm like beating the shit out of that guy because he's getting
how many times did we hear that though? Like, in years, and I would always say you're right, but not in the way that you think. Everybody would talk about the SEC speed.
Yeah.
And I think some people, I don't mean disrespect when I say this, thought about it from a simple standpoint of their wide receivers. And it was, no, to me, it was up front.
Yeah. Oh,
and if you think 100%. back to those great D'Antonio teams, okay, 13, 14, 15, what they did is they came at you like an SEC defense. Yeah. I mean, poor Devin Gardner. Shout out to Devin if you're watching. But I mean, honestly, they made that poor guy's life miserable.
That game, whether
it was mean. It was mean.
Watching the game, you felt bad for him.
I did.
Again, I'm rooting for Michigan State. I'm like, I feel bad for him. Like he there's nothing he can do.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
This really turned very quickly. Real quick, you said SEC speed. What's the name that comes to mind when someone says SEC speed? Because I have one that's like,
go ahead.
The name.
Go ahead.
Percy Harvin.
Okay, that's fair.
Percy Harvin was SEC speed.
Yeah, that's fair. Jeff's childhood was Rocket Ishmael. I was actually at that game. Remember the two kick returns against Michigan? I was, honest to God, I was
my favorite college player of all time.
He was unbelievable. Yeah. Hey, before we get out of here, look at somebody. Listen to the dogs going nuts. Nobody's here, you morons.
You said the R word.
What did I say?
You said rocket. I think that's what did it.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. I'm not going to tell you about the Wealth Advantage Group. Why don't you tell us about the
Jeff? Do you want this pretty picture or no?
You want the picture of you and your handsome brother?
For sure.
Yeah.
There we go. Thanks, Blake. Appreciate that.
If you want, I can pick up the read and you can fill in the blanks while we're doing it. Right?
Sure.
Are you ready to take charge of your financial further? Well, look no further than those two handsome guys from the Wealth Advantage Group. See Mike on the left and Jeff on the right, located in historic downtown Northville, owned by two brothers with over 20 years of industry experience. They understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. That's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, or already in retirement, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients through all stages of life and have clients in over 20 states. The investment world is a complex one. So if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it might be time to work with a couple of experts. Those two guys, the Hanson brothers, not to be confused with the Hanson brothers, Mike Husak, Jeff Husak. Reach out to them at the Wealth Advantage Group, 248-773-8574, or check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. Did I check all the boxes?
You did.
Yeah.
You checked.
How's business?
It's good. Business is great.
How's the market right now?
Really good. S&P's up like 9.5% on the year. Everything's moving in the right direction. Obviously, election year, so you never know how things can go. Typically, election years bring about a little more volatility when we start getting into all the craziness and things of that nature. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're, volatility is going to bring the market down or anything like that, but there's always just a little bit more uncertainty in terms of if this person gets elected, are they going to change this, and things like that. So we've been doing it since both Mike and I have been in the industry for about 20 years. We started our company together back in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work for a fund company out in Chicago.
I remember that when you moved away.
Yeah.
It was kind of sad.
I know it was. Mike used to work with an independent advisor as well, and then we decided to open up our own shop in 2010.
Wow,
so I know,
crazy. It was that long.
Time flies. We manage money for individuals, small businesses, like a bunch of small business 401k plans, clients all over the country. So we do a ton of Zoom calls now. That's one with one thing that changed with COVID is like people just don't care as much about meeting in person. So. Mm-hmm. We've got clients all over the country. I think our biggest client lives in like Nebraska, and I met her I think twice.
I was going to say Warren Buffett.
No, she lives like right in the same city though. That'd be great though.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
And we're a little bit unique in the aspect that a lot of advisors outsource their, some of the things that they do, right? So their investments, they'll outsource to third-party money managers and things like that. And we don't do that. So we manage everything in-house. And Mike and I have, different skill sets and strengths and weaknesses and things like that. And Mike does an amazing job. He really deals with the clients on a day-to-day basis. So if there's however many meetings there are in a week, Mike's sitting in on almost 100% of those.
Poor Mike. Poor Mike.
He loves it. He does an amazing job. Our clients love him. He's such an easy person to talk to and patient and all that stuff. And then I deal with I sit in on some meetings. And there's a few clients that I am sitting in on all of those meetings. But I manage the money. So I build our models and do some trading inside the models, do all the research and things like that. And then we have Aaron, who you've met a few times as well. Our assistant
always gives me the pie.
Yeah, so we give pies away.
I get free pie, Blake.
Yeah. She is.
Wait, I haven't gotten any pie. What is this?
Next barbecue, I'll make sure. How's that?
Yeah. And Erin's amazing. She's a rock star. Our client.
Oh, she's awesome.
Every single time we talk, like a client call, or like every client's like, "Oh my gosh, Erin's amazing." Like she's just wonderful. So we made her a partner. About a year ago, we actually gave her a little bit of ownership in the company. Because we just want to make sure that she's happy and that she never goes anywhere. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah, we really value her. She's awesome. So
check these guys out, seriously. And there's a great Mexican restaurant right around the corner too. Like right around the corner.
Yeah, right above us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Basically, you go down and then you walk up these stairs to beautiful downtown Northville, and they'll take care of you as they take care of me and so many other customers as well.
Sizzling Sticks, old stomping house.
Sticks.
I bought a bottle of tiger sauce a week ago because I used to put that on all my stuff at Sizzling Sticks. Yeah, me too.
So they had this place, like, what is it, Mongolian barbecue?
Yeah.
They had this place called Sizzling Stick, like right near us, Blake, and it was just. We used to put on a show there. I mean, we really just no other way to say that.
Yeah.
We used
out there in Narnia.
See, that's what I call it. And he says Narnia to me. Yeah, but you don't have a problem traveling to Narnia for free barbecue now, do you? Huh?
Or to set up.
I see Blake's car coming up.
Oh, yeah. Where was the barbecue last Friday when I was over setting up your little new toy?
Well, you know what? I'm saving for the first night of the playoffs. You're invited. You and your brother are invited. Todd, you're invited as well. First night of the Stanley Cup playoffs, we're having a barbecue. All right. Mike and I are going to do. I have brisket. I have corned beef. I have ribs. I have wings.
Who are you taking in that
Stanley Cup playoffs?
Yeah.
I like the Florida Panthers a lot. At the beginning of the season, I had Colorado over Carolina.
Okay.
And I really like the Florida Panthers a lot.
Yeah. So I have
sandpaper.
I have
just sandpaper.
Florida over Colorado. That's what I think.
That's fair.
Happen, yeah. I'm an Oilers guy, so I'm I want them. They just don't. They just don't have it. They just don't have it.
Goaltending's a problem. I think defense core is a problem.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, while we're talking about other things besides football, how do you feel about both of your boy Izzo saying he'll die trying to get deeper into the tournament?
Well, my feelings. I'm going to say it again. I think anybody who tries to categorize it as less than disappointing is not being honest with themselves. This was a year. I know that Michigan State basketball has been wait till next year the last few years, but I think people were talking about this one 2 years in advance. And I'm going to say it again, 13 losses, 13 losses, 13 losses, 15 losses. And as successful as he's been, you have to be honest with yourself. Okay. Both things can be true. He's a legend. They should have a statue up of him on campus. He's meant that much to the university on and off the court, but you have to understand that a lot of questions are going to be coming in. And I'm sorry, one win in the tournament over a very fraudulent Mississippi State team, who all I heard is about how tough they were. And boy, they didn't look tough at all. Let's be honest. That doesn't make amends when you were expected to vie for a national championship and you were a top 5 team. So
what if he starts playing the game?
Are you talking about going out? I hope he does. I hope he does. I think for the sake of his team. But I mean, if you're asked, do I think that he should be fired? No, I don't.
No.
Talking portal stuff really quick. So Blake, who do you want as the quarterback next year for Michigan?
You know what? I got to see what goes into the portal first but I'm fine with if we want to do like the Alabama offense from last year with Orgy,
yeah,
and just run it and just stay tough. And because I don't think Michigan's going to win more than 10 games next year.
Their schedule is brutal, and
Awful.
some of the unfortunately for them, like as good as like Michigan's defense was last year, Ohio State's defense this next season is going to be
but they're soft.
Here we go. Here we go. There it is.
Oh, you guys win 2 games. You win 2 games in a row against them. You guys, 3. Sorry, 3 out of the past 20.
3.
Get out of here. Hey, it's a pleasure. Seriously,
I appreciate
you
it,
and
man.
your brother come over. Mike,
Yeah.
come over next time as well. All right, and you guys can come over and get some barbecue. Bring Tara. Bring Scott. Bring your dad. Bring Ortman. Shout out to Ortman. I miss partying with Ortman.
Oh, he's always fun.
He's a blast.
Good. He's good.
Blake, thank you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Blake.
Nice to meet you as well.
Did we check all the boxes, Blake? Is there anything I left out?
Everyone, please go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please go subscribe. If you haven't yet, go subscribe to it. Like all the videos so that we pop up as going live in your algorithm, all that stuff. We really want to grow our YouTube channel. It's really important to me and Sean.
Yes,
that we grow on YouTube. So
he can say it a lot better than I do, so that's why he's.
Please go subscribe. Obviously, we appreciate all the love on Facebook and Twitter and Twitch and everything, but we really want people to be watching us on YouTube. It's really important.
100%. All right.
Awesome.
Until next time, for Jeff, for Blake, I'm Sean Baligian. Thanks for checking us out. I'll echo the sentiments. Tell your friends about us if you enjoy it, like the stuff. In particular, go to YouTube and lie. Oh, I never miss the channel. Like it, favorite it, whatever it's called. Till next time, we'll see you.
Off the Air with Sean Baligian, featuring Sean Baligian and Blake Matrazak. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matrazak. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Play It Loud by Jam Studio. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the unsyndicated podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Off the Air with Sean Baligian on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.